Back at it again. It's the State of Football here on this Thursday, August the 26th, 2021, Season 2, Episode 19, Part 278 edition here. Ric Serritella, ton of like it is when it comes to the world of football. We're spanning the globe looking for talent here on the State of Football, keeping you up to date with the hot topics, premier talent on location across the nation as we continue to count you down to college football week 0. Kicking off. We got football. How about that? It's been fun to watch the Canadian Football League, NFL preseason. We've been keeping tabs with the European League of Football. Big shout out to the Elf League yesterday. And so also the CFL Wednesdays are for NFL and CFL and ELF. And Thursdays are for NFLPA Collegiate Bowl talk. We're going to chop it up. Maybe get into some of these NFL preseason battles that are happening around the league, but some NFLPA Collegiate Bowl players making some noise. And here to chop it up each and every Thursday on the State of Football is none other than the executive director of the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, Dane Vandernat, of course, former pro personnel with the Oakland Raiders. Good morning, Dane. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Rick. Just excited as ever for some football to be upon us here.
It is. It's exciting. You know, I'm looking around the league. A guy like KJ Sales, who went undrafted, a late addition to training camp. The Chargers bringing him in. He's making plays all over the field. I saw your tweet this morning. Nate Hobbs, who, you know, you talk to different scouts who liked him as a safety, who liked him as a corner. Sounds like he's in the mix now for the starting nickel spot there with your old ball club, the Raiders. So it's exciting times. I'm a big fan of the preseason. In fact, I can argue I enjoy the preseason even more than the regular season because I'm all about the story of the underdogs, the day 3 undrafted free agents. And as you know, 27 to 33% of all NFL rosters consist of undrafted free agents. And Dan, honestly, how would we evaluate these guys if we didn't have preseason football?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that was always my favorite aspect in pro personnel was being able to watch these guys continue to develop and then go out there and hopefully go ball it out. I mean, go make plays like Marquez Callaway the other night for the Saints that, you know, hey, we all loved and thought if the NFLPA Bowl, he had a chance to be drafted and ended up going undrafted. And that happens. Every single year, Rick, as you know, players that NFL teams have draftable grades on end up slipping out of the draft, whether it's just due to the sheer numbers at the position group or, you know, just other priorities for individual clubs. But just because you go undrafted does not mean that you were worthy of being drafted. It does not mean you're a bad football player. And like you're saying, with a third of the league practically made up of undrafted rookies or undrafted free agents, it goes to show that those guys that may have a chip on their shoulder, but they're going to show up, they're going to work hard, they're going to be humble, they're going to do things the right way, and they're going to improve the back end of the football club.
No, it's exactly right. Even a guy like Brian Lewerke, who came out 2 years ago, I believe, he gets picked up late here in the preseason, gets an opportunity to audition after the Giants cut one of their backups. Lewerke comes in. I think he played the entire half the other night for the football Giants. So it's just great to see all these players getting opportunities. We had Russell Landy here on Tuesday. They've got Nick Tiano up in camp with the Montreal Alouettes, who they believe is a developmental quarterback and could potentially start down the road. So it's exciting time in football. It's exciting times at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl because we have the watch list dropping tomorrow. We're all pumped up, excited about it. If you've been following on Twitter at NFLPA Bowl, you've been seeing the different positional watch lists and some of the players we're keeping tabs on that Dane has really been doing a great job putting out there. And so, you know, just some perspective here, Dane, in terms of how the watch list is formulated. You know, this really begins once we get through the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. Obviously, we're keeping tabs on players, how they fare at the combine, how they do at their pro days, where they go in the draft. But realistically, I mean, this started back in the spring, communicating with the schools, compiling lists, cross-checking, making a list, checking it twice, like Santa Claus over here. And with the influx of seniors and the super seniors, there's a lot of draft prospects this year.
Yeah, there really are. Those super seniors really have added to the numbers. And, the more difficult thing, Rick, is tracking all these guys in the transfer portal these days. I mean, I literally were just alerted last night, 2 guys that are no longer with one team and have transferred on to another. So it's not an easy task. It's no small task. NFL Draft Bible does a great job of tracking all the stuff. And, obviously, for our own needs, just trying to understand where the players are is half the battle. We're going to release the big board tomorrow, and then it's going to be, always what I say it is. It's a starting point. When we put it out, that's just the guys that, we have good grades on as we enter the season. We're definitely going to be mindful of, but there are other teammates of theirs that are going to impress. There are guys that have transferred from one program to another that are going to be able to go out there and hopefully ball out themselves. So, we're excited for the big board tomorrow, the full list to get released, and even more excited for Saturday come game day and the opportunity to start evaluating these guys as seniors.
Yeah, and we talked about the importance of and value of relationships. And a perfect example, every school I've visited or spoken to, I'm always finding out, to your point, the transfer portal, right? I was down at Villanova last week, chopping it up with Terry Bradway. I said, hey, this number 41, Christian Benford's a good-looking corner. What happened to number 6? He was on our preseason list. Amos, where'd he go? Oh, he said, oh, no, he transferred to Iowa State. Oh, okay, well, good to know. A lot of players like that, you just don't really know until you go there or talk to somebody. And so that'll be an evolving process. So tomorrow the watch list drops. Wow. Can we say how many players are going to be nominated, Dane?
I think 544, Rick, are going to be on it. So, hey, Rick, I've had a terrible time just whittling that thing down. There were so many more players that are deserving to still be on our big board that, even getting down to the mid 500s was a tall task in itself. There are a lot of good players that, again, I'm looking forward to evaluating this upcoming football season who, are going to be able to make a case for why they should have been on, our preseason big board. But, we wanted to get it down somewhere manageable. We wanted to, obviously educate the public and let everyone know because, like we love saying, Rick, we're the most transparent all-star bowl. We want everyone to know what we're seeing. We want you to know our thought process. We want you guys to understand how the NFL evaluates players and the values they're looking for. So we wanted to get a manageable list, and I feel we've more than accomplished that. But I'm sure there are a lot of players that are going to prove me wrong here in the coming weeks.
Oh, no doubt. And just to provide some perspective to our listening audience, come March, on any given year, about 2,500 players on average participate in the pro day circuit. So we've whittled the list down to 500. Will it grow? Will it dwindle down? That remains to be seen. But, with Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, both taking more than 120 players the last couple of years, some of them in the 140, 150 range. So when you talk about the big 3 all-star games, you're really talking about 400 roster spots. And so when you talk about a list of 500 or so players, a lot of those guys are going to be invited to the big 3. And hey, if the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl snatches up a guy we like, so be it. We just love giving players opportunities. Hey, next man up here at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, and we're going to get into defensive backs in just a minute. You won't want to miss that. Nobody breaks down prospects better than Dane Vandernat. So we'll get into some corners. We'll get into some safeties. We've been previewing the defense the entire month of August. We went on a little hiatus in July, but back in June, we did all the offense. Some of those segments can be found on the website, collegiate.nflpa.com. Before we get there, Dane, for those who didn't tune in last week, we did announce we will be unveiling the all-time, all-decade NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. Of course, this being the 11th annual NFLPA Bowl, this year being virtual. So the event in January here at the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, will actually be the 10th annual game. And so tell the people at home a little bit about the unveiling of the all-time, all-decade NFLPA Collegiate Bowl team.
Yeah, well, we've obviously been collaborating and kind of, trying to weigh which of our alums that we wanted to include on the list. But, again, I feel that we put together a great list that is going to, really resemble a lot of the great players that we've had come through. But, it's not just players, Rick, as you pointed out last week. And as we've talked about, it's also the coaches from, the recently inducted Hall of Famer Tom Flores that coached the first game to, I saw today that Mike Holmgren's being inducted into the Seahawks Ring of Honor, Ring of Fame, whatever they call it up there. So, Mike Holmgren's coach, Mike Martz, Super Bowl winning head coach, Dick Vermeil, Herm Edwards. I mean, we've had some outstanding, most recently Marvin Lewis, who took Cincinnati to a lot of playoff games, and Hugh Jackson. So, we've had a great 10-year history of fielding some very competitive teams, of putting, hundreds of players into the NFL, a couple hundred drafted, more to the combine. So, you know what, we've got a 10th anniversary team that we're hoping, that we'll kind of roll out throughout the season. But, it's just been a great privilege to be a part of this process and selecting some of these guys, and looking forward to unveiling that final roster here as well.
Yeah, and we'll also be unveiling the coaching staff, the assistant coaches, some of the Hall of Famers that these players get coached up by is unbelievable. I think of guys like Jackie Slater, Darryl Green, Ed Reed, that do just such a phenomenal job of passing it forward and coaching these players up. All right, so defensive backs here, our last positional preview breakdown before the week 0 kickoff. And so, Dane, we talked about a guy like Nate Hobbs, who's a perfect example, a guy that in today's NFL can be moved around the defense and play an array of roles. The more you can do, the more valuable you are. It seems like defensive backs have really, in the last 5 or 10 years, gone in that mold. And I think back a decade ago, you rarely saw a 6 foot, 200-pound corner who ran 4.4. Now you rarely see a 6 foot, 200-pound corner who doesn't run 4.4. It seems like they're just all over the place. And so talk a little bit about what you're looking for. And I mean, we could spend an entire hour just on this, but the Cliff Notes version of just scouting corners, boundary versus slot versus safeties, and some of the characteristics and traits that you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's tough to be succinct here, but I'll do my best, Rick. For me, and even for being, with the Raiders for 10 years, we always like tall, long, physical corners that could get up on guys and play that famous press or bump and run style that the Raiders were always known for, dating back to 1963 when Al Davis took over the team as head coach. So, for me, it influenced me. I like those guys. We always say that football is a game of inches. And when you have a little bit longer of arms, when you've got 32-inch arms versus 30-inch arms, it makes a big difference when you have to reach and extend out to try and break up a pass. When you have that 4.4, 4.3 speed that you can run with guys downfield, it's tough covering Tyreek Hill, right? I mean, when you have to respect his speed because you can't run, then he's got all day to eat you up underneath. So we want guys that can be versatile, that can play up, that can get up on you, that can use their length, that can contest the ball down the field, and most importantly, run with you down the field. When you go inside and you've got those nickel guys, right, you think of the Chris Harrises that were so good for so long for the Broncos, for instance. He was only 5'9", but he still had 32-inch arms, Rick, and he was tough as nails. So when, obviously when you think logically, when the nickelback comes in, you're removing a linebacker. So that nickelback now assumes that linebacker's run contain or his run fit. So we need nickels that are tough, that are smart. They're going to be able to move around, that can cover those shiftier wide receivers. So all those Wes Welkers, Rick, who I couldn't think of the other week, we need guys that can cover the Wes Welkers of the world. And so when we're looking at nickel, it is a different skill set, but nickel's almost a starter these days, right? It's no longer everyone's running out 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. No, we're going to need that 5th defensive back on the field north of 60% of the time. When we're talking about safety, again, you can get scheme specific, but we really like guys that are going to be able to match up with tight ends, be able to cover them man to man, and then also those guys that hopefully are going to have a lot of instinct, are going to be heady football players that can get the troops aligned pre-snap and have a great understanding and recognition of what's coming at them.
Yeah, as I'm listening to you talk, Dan, I'm just thinking about how interchangeable these DBs has become, right? With the nickel and the safeties and the safeties becoming interchangeable. I think of a guy like Coach Matt Rule there in Carolina, where he preaches positionless football, right? He takes a guy like Jeremy Chin, he's got him playing all over the field. And does he really have a true position? Not really, but you can line him up just about anywhere. And I wonder, do you think, in your opinion, do you see more of that, or do you think we're kind of where it's going to be in the current landscape of the NFL?
No, I definitely think that with the proliferation of the pass game, and obviously, Rick, it seems, like it was just last year that everyone was giving Andy Reid a hard time in Philadelphia for throwing it more than 50% of the time, right? Now it's unheard of if you don't throw it 60% of the time. So because the proliferation of 3-4 wide receiver sets has become so popular, because teams are throwing the football a heck of a lot more, right? Seems like Pittsburgh didn't even try to run last year. The Cardinals are going to come and spread you out every single play. So because of that, you're more reliant on these hybrid type players, right? We need nickel backs that are tough and will show against the run. We need safeties that can cover, but also play the run. So those old heavy linebackers, those old Levon Kirklands of the world, unfortunately, are no longer a real fit in today's NFL. So we're seeing smaller linebackers becoming more prominent, and defensive backs, again, becoming a lot more hybrid, like the Jeremy Chins of the world. Who is the guy the Cardinals took from Washington State, bounced around a little bit.
Buda Baker.
So you do have guys that are, playing a little bit of positionless football. Yeah,
the Cardinals like it a lot with Buda Baker and Isaiah Simmons, 2 guys that could be interchangeable parts. And talking to Coach Shiano last week, he said, we were talking about one of his players. He said, yeah, he's a 2-down backer, which in today's NFL is more like 1.5 down, right? There's really not a big use for those guys anymore. And I think the league is somewhere around 67 or 70% passing. So there you have it. All right, let's get into it. It's the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl watch list. Dane Vandernat's been breaking it down position by position. We're going to get into defensive backs. We've talked about all shapes and sizes. Dane, you've got a great selection of players you're going to highlight here.
Yeah, it's not a very wide variety of corners I'm going to start with, Rick. Sadly, all these guys are north of 6 foot, and they all play in the Southeastern Conference now. So I'm really showing some regional bias here. But I'm going to start with my man, Caleb Evans. Just transferred to Mizzou, right on down I-70 for me here. 6'0", 200 pounds, 8 5/8" hands with 32.5-inch arms. And those 32.5-inch arms on a near 6'2" frame really are what make Caleb such an effective defender. You see him right there in the highlight, getting up, pressing the wide receiver, being able to bump him, get him off his route, disrupt the timing with the quarterback. That's what a Caleb Evans does. He can really run. He stays attached in coverage. Obviously, he'd been a heck of a starter there for Tulsa ever since he was a true freshman. Missed 2019 with a shoulder injury, came back last year, was very productive, seldom targeted on offense, and I just can't wait to watch him get up there and compete in the Southeastern Conference now.
You talk about length, physicality, man coverage skills, which you echoed, Dane. I love Caleb Evans. In fact, I was surprised that he returned because I thought he was a potential top 100 pick. Now, I don't know what the medical says because you mentioned he missed a year with the shoulder injury, but in terms of talent, this is an ascending player. Who else you got for us, Dan?
Yeah, Elijah Blades, another transfer this year. Was that he's a JUCO transfer, played 2019 with Texas A&M, and then sat out last season with the Aggies. But he just transferred to Florida. Florida just lost, unfortunately, their projected starter, Jadon Hill, to a season-ending knee injury. So Elijah Blades is going to go in there and have a chance to go start for the Gators this upcoming season. Another tall press corner, 6'0", 1'2", 183. So just almost a shade under 6'1" and a half. He played the boundary for the Aggies in 2019. Excellent height, plays physical. Another one of those guys that is able to remain attached. He did miss some time in 2019 with the Aggies due to an injury. So, considering 2 years at a JUCO, sat out 2020, missed a couple games 2019. 2021 is going to be a big year for Elijah Blades and showing that he can stay on the field, that he can be a lockdown player. I think he has the talent to do it. Now it's to see how quickly he can get acclimated with his new team.
Yeah, and I had to look it up because when you see Blades, defensive back, I think back to Benny Blades, Brian Blades. I don't see any bloodline relationships from what I can find here, but certainly looking forward to that young man in the upcoming season. The next player you talk about, I am pretty familiar with, and he is someone heavily on the NFL radar. Who do you got, Dane?
Yeah, and just real quick, Rick, one other note on Elijah Blades, a Pasadena, California native. So, right out where we'll be playing at the Rose Bowl, so we may have a chance to come home this upcoming January.
Could be throwing bouquets his way.
That's right. or bouquets, however you want to pronounce it. Alontae Taylor.
I got the Jersey accent. I apologize, Dave.
But Alontae Taylor, old Volunteer, 6 foot even, 192 pounds, 8.5-inch hands, 32.25-inch arms. So again, another tall, long-armed player. I know Derek Ansley, their defensive coordinator the last couple of years, been coaching them. And Derek Ansley, who's now the DB's coach with the Chargers, is one of the absolute best there is, especially when it comes to technique. But another former wide receiver turned corner, contributor all 3 years to date. Didn't allow a touchdown last season in 2020, although he did miss some time with a hamstring. Very fluid as an athlete. Man, he can really match up in man-to-man coverage, utilizes his tremendous length and athleticism to remain attached to receivers. He can really accelerate out of breaks. Despite the fact that he's a taller corner, he bends so easily and fluidly. He's physical as a tackler. I really see high upside to Alontae Taylor. I think all of our Draft Nick fans and anyone that cares about the NFL draft, they're going to be very familiar with his name and, this upcoming April.
And you talk about somebody who continues to get it done while there's been a lot of transition and adversity, we'll just say there in Knoxville. So Alontae Taylor really queued up for a big-time season. Looking forward to that. Marcelino Ball, Dane, is a guy that's I feel like he's been on the radar now for quite some time, has had some durability issues, but when he's on the field, man, we had Thomas Brew a couple weeks ago who covers the Hoosiers, and that secondary is really the Hoosier football team is primed for a big season, but they're going to lean on the secondary. Marcelino Ball, looks like he added another name into the mix since the last time I've seen him as well.
Yeah, he certainly has. And Rick, we're obviously familiar because he was on our radar last season, right? He was a guy that, the NFLPA Bowl was a big fan of his play style. He's a little bit more of a compact, more of that box safety, if you will, at 5'11", so just a shade under 6 foot, 214 pounds, 10-inch hands, 32-inch arms. So despite the fact that he's a little stockier, he's got great length still that he can use to match up. Strong, physical, almost that linebacker type. Ended up missing 2020, Rick, with a torn ACL in summer camp. So anxious to see how he's going to rebound. And obviously he'll have a full year coming off that injury. athletic. He can run. He can match up with tight ends. Again, he's got that advantageous length for himself. But what I like the most about Marcelino Ball, Rick, is he will come up and knock your block off as a hitter, as a tackler. You're talking about physical, great energy, great sense of urgency with the football. I'm really bullish on Marcelino.
Yeah, he could be a game changer when healthy, no doubt about that. We're previewing defensive backs with Dane Vandernat here. The 2022 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl will be held in the Rose Bowl out there in Pasadena, the granddaddy of them all. And playing not too far away from that venue is our next prospect. Who do you got here, Dane?
Yeah, Isaiah Polamau from USC. A 6'3", 298-pound safety, tall, lanky, rangy. Very athletic, entering year number 3 as a starter there for the Trojans. He's dealt with some injury adversity his first couple seasons at USC, dealing with some shoulder surgeries. Excuse me. Really like the athlete here, Rick. He's got great range from deep field, from the post. He's got the size, the length to match up with tight ends, similar to Marcelino Ball, but he's a little bit more of that rangier back end, go play that Earl Thomas type spot there. With that length, with that speed and range, he really has an opportunity to affect a lot of passes. Really like his burst running to close on the ball. Really high on Isaiah here. Think he's poised to have a great season, and I think he'll become a real household name for a lot of those that follow the NFL draft.
And you mentioned the Earl Thomas type of attributes there. It sounds like a prospect the Seattle Seahawks would be very excited about adding to their secondary based on his size and characteristics. So there's your defensive backs. That concludes our positional preview series as we wind you down here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. And that can only mean one thing. The college football season has arrived. Again, the 2022 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl watch list will be unveiled tomorrow morning. Make sure you check out the website, collegiate.nflpa.com for that. Of course, they'll have announcements on the Twitterverse at NFLPA Bowl. And we will be turning our attention now to the weekend matchups each and every week. We'll come back and chop it up and talk about where we've been, who we've seen, players that are on the watch list, players that we may have to consider adding to the watch list, and a couple games this upcoming week, Dane, here. One that stands out to me because I was just in East Hartford to see the UConn football team. Coach Randy Edsall brings that NFL coaching style, and some of his players well coached. In fact, talking to a lot of the parents out there at the UConn program, they were really excited about Coach Edsall really having his guys in camp and a different level of intensity. Ryan Van Demark and the defensive tackle there, who's a redshirt junior and is on target to graduate. So, his status is a little bit more unknown. But in terms of seniors, Ryan Van Demark there for the UConn Huskies, he'll be in action against Fresno State. Little East Coast, West Coast battle to get things started. But one of several games, I think UCLA, Hawaii will also be colliding week 1 here. So we'll get a look at Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who I believe is going to be making an appearance on the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. Who are some games or some players you're looking forward to here, Dane?
Yeah, we got a few. Not only DTR, but we got a safety out there in Quintrez Knight for UCLA that is going to perhaps make an appearance on our big board tomorrow there, Rick. But Travis Jones, the D tackle at UConn, is, you're firmly aware, is, a guy that's squarely on our list. Excuse me. I'm also looking forward to seeing the Fresno State quarterback, Jake Hayner, and the running back, Ronnie Rivers, get on out there, continue to do a lot of great things for that Bulldog offense. But Rick, I'm not going to lie, out here in Kansas City, man, not too far away from me. We've got Nebraska going to Illinois on Saturday afternoon here. Anxious to see both these teams. Obviously, Scott Frost has a lot to prove up there in Nebraska, and we got Brett Bielema making his return to Big Ten football at Illinois. So both schools have a lot of players that they're going to be well represented. on our lists, and even some guys that didn't make our big board, but who we're going to be paying extra attention to as well.
Yeah, some good matchups here to kick off the first week of the NFL or the college football season. We're getting closer to the NFL season. I think we're 10 days away, which is pretty interesting. And so just a quick few minutes here, Dane, just to pick your brain on some of these QB decisions. I'm curious to see your take. Let's start off in Denver, because this has really been a fascinating topic of debate on Twitter. All the tweets out there about, hey, Drew Lock has more upside. He can get the ball downfield, open up that offense, utilize some of those speedy weapons like a KJ Hamler, a Noah Fant. Instead, George Payton brings in Teddy Bridgewater, a familiar face from his time in Minnesota, maybe a little bit more of a dinker and a dunker, but somebody who's maybe a smarter decision maker. Dane, what's your take in terms of the direction that Denver decided to go in?
Yeah, well, I mean, for one, it didn't come as a surprise to me. Drew Lock, you're right. He's got a lot of upside. He has a lot of talent, but I'll always go back to that old Parcells adage that, talent or potential means you haven't done anything yet. So for Drew Lock, unfortunately, in his couple seasons, he hasn't had a strong surrounding cast, but, I think some of his decision-making has led to this decision to go with Teddy B. But hey, Teddy Bridgewater is a former first-round draft pick, and obviously he was very highly rated by Minnesota and looked like he was going to have a great career until that horrific knee injury. So you know what? I applaud George Payton and Vic Fangio for having the gall to go with Teddy B and bring him in. But at the same time, that's why they did bring him in, right? So I think that for Denver, they play in a very competitive division. They have arguably one of the top defenses in the NFL. They need a quarterback who's not going to turn the ball over and make good decisions. I think Teddy Bridgewater fits that role that they're looking for the quarterback to play.
Well, it's hard to argue against that case. And there's another interesting quarterback battle happening in New England where, Cam Newton, we're not in the building now. I'm just speculating, but based on what I heard, the front office there in New England is none too happy about this whole COVID-19 protocol misunderstanding, we'll just call it. The door is kind of cracked open here for Mac Jones to kick it down in the final preseason game. I hear the teammates ranting and raving about his cerebral awareness, his poise in the pocket. I've seen glimpses of him in the preseason thus far. It doesn't look like he skipped a beat from his time in Alabama. Any chance here, do you think, Mac Jones taking away the starting job from Cam Newton? Again, 2 former first-round picks.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Obviously, you don't draft a quarterback in the first round to, truly sit him or because you're happy with the incumbent that you have. So, while Cam Newton certainly has played well in the preseason, I do think you have a body of work with Cam Newton to go back and evaluate. And I think if you want to be a passing offense, which I think that in today's NFL, you need to be a good passing team in order to win football games and compete for championships, then I think your New England's best bet is going to be with Mac Jones. So it may be a minute. Cam Newton may be able to hold him off for a little bit until Mac gets, fully familiarized with the offense, with the playbook, continues to get acclimated with his teammates and the way things are done up there. But it's only a matter of time before, Mac Jones is the starting quarterback there for the Patriots.
No, I tend to agree. I wonder how soon it's going to be. As I do with Trey Lance in San Francisco, the former Patriots quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo seems like he's just holding on for dear life at this point now. They did ask Kyle Shanahan yesterday, have you made a decision? He said yes. Didn't want to tell us who. Then they asked Jimmy Garoppolo, hey, do you know who the starting quarterback is? He said yes. He said, I feel pretty good about it. So it sounds like Jimmy G is going to get the start here. I think week 6 is the 49ers bye week. Are you taking the over-under before we see Trey Lance?
It's a great question, and obviously that bye week comes at a phenomenal time for the 49ers. I mean, the way that I look at it is that Trey Lance has not played a lot of football. You know, he was really a one-year starter at North Dakota State, played one game the most recent season. So he just really doesn't have a lot of experience under his belt. I think for Jimmy G, it's his job to lose. And obviously, depending on what the Niners' record is come week 6 will be a big determining factor on whether or not it's going to be Garoppolo or Trey Lance going forward. Obviously, similar to the New England situation, eventually Trey Lance, it's his job. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, not officially announced, but all signs pointing towards Jimmy G. One battle that has been announced is Andy Dalton will be the starter week 1 for the Chicago Bears. And this is a tough one for me, Dane. Put your GM beanie on here. Like, you watch Justin Fields just basically outperform Andy Dalton all preseason long. Now he's running with the 2s, Dalton's running with the 1s. How do you kind of navigate this situation when your rookie first-round pick is outplaying your veteran? Now, Andy Dalton's done some things in the league now. He's taken the Bengals to the playoffs. How do you kind of navigate this situation?
Yeah, I think that probably one of the things that's going into or factoring into the decision-making is what's already been told to Andy Dalton, right? He clearly went to Chicago and signed with them in free agency under the understanding that he was going to be the starting quarterback. Now, I'm not saying this would be the first time a team ever lied to a player or that a team changed its direction midstream, but it is going to be one of those where, similar to these other 2 situations, Andy Dalton is not going to have a lot of rope. And if we're feeling good about our team and our opportunity to compete, and we feel that Justin Fields is ready, then it's only going to be a matter of time before he's in there. But, you know, Rick, obviously, as you know, the biggest thing is for these rookie players, man, they just need to learn where the training room is, where the weight room is, where their classroom is, where the team room is, where the cafeteria is. All these things that go in. I mean, it sounds so basic and so benign, but at the same time, hey, you've got a young man going and being put into a brand new city with new teammates, with new coaches, with a new playbook. For all these guys, it's difficult being a rookie in the National Football League. Most of these guys were training to run a 40 and a short shuttle all off season. Well, guess what? Andy Dalton and Cam Newton and Jimmy G were all sitting there working on football functional strength. So it's not always easy to come in and have a rookie steal a veteran's job. And quarterback, considering the fact that you need to be polished, you need to be another coach on the field when it comes to the playbook. It's always a challenge for those guys to really replace a proven veteran. You know, Andy Dalton, I hate to say it though, Cam Newton, sorry guys, your days are numbered.
Nobody breaks it down better than Dane Vandernat. Each and every Thursday here on The State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. And before we let you go, Dane, I know our next guest, Neil Stratton, is going to be coming up, and his Friday wrap tomorrow is going to be talking about Danton Bartow, a former NFLPA Collegiate Bowl scout, one of our scouting brethren that we lost here this past week. Just a final thought on Danton and his legacy here.
Yeah, well, first of all, I had a great opportunity to hit the road with Danton a few years back. We were doing an Arkansas Pro Day roundup. And, for me being a pro guy going on the road, it was great to have a trusted, a proven, a veteran college scout like Danton that was there to kind of lead a lot of the drills, and then I could kind of play that backup and support role. But I had a lot of fun with Danton for the short amount of time I got to spend with him. And I know when I came here to the NFLPA Bowl that, he was well regarded and, had done a lot of great work here before my time. So very sad. And, I'm really, my condolences go out to his family and friends. But you know what? I couldn't have fonder things to say about Danton, and rest in peace for him, man.
Yeah, great job, Dane. Never easy there. We put you on the spot sometimes. We're flying by the seat of our pants just in the game of life. But the game of football has brought us so many great opportunities here to be here each and every Thursday, talk about the state of football. And obviously, COVID-19 continues to be an impactful thing, a real thing here in 2021 of the state of football. So, Dane, We'll do it again next week, and we'll actually have some football games to react to and some players to talk about from live game action. I know you can't wait. I can't wait. Let's buckle up. Do it again Thursday. Looking forward to that watch list tomorrow.
Looking forward to it as always, my man.
All right, there you have it. Dane Vandernat, the best that does it here on this show anyway, in terms of evaluation, prospect breakdowns, and just experience, kind of taking us behind the scenes each and every week into that front office mindset. You won't get that too many places in terms of media coverage and being able to spend some time with Dane each and every week. Our next guest on this Thursday is Neil Stratton. He is the CEO and founder of InsideTheLeague.com, of course, an author with Moving the Chains and Scout Speak. You can find his books on Amazon.com right now. Of course, he joins us here down in the Houston, Katy, Texas area on the State of Football each and every Thursday, right around 9:45 a.m. Eastern time. Neil waiting patiently in the virtual green room. Neil, how are you today?
Doing great, Rick. Thanks for having me on, buddy. Hope you and Sam are doing great. Hope the whole family is winding up the summer here.
Yeah, we're winding up the summer. We're doing okay. And, I just want to follow up on Dane's sentiments. I see our good friends Tom Goodhines and Craig T. Smith in the chat room. Dane is definitely the kind of guy you want to have a beer with. And I had a chance to spend a good part of time with Danton at the NFLPA Bowl and doing some scouting with him, and just really a great man. And we lost a good one, and we'll just stay right there because Dane echoed what we all feel about Danton Bartow. Just a really a great scout, no doubt about it, but an even better person, individual, a father, a husband, a coach, a mentor, a leader, and a tough guy. And so for all of you out there that, think we're over the hump with COVID-19, I mean, Danton was as tough as they come and as friendly as they come. And even if he didn't know you, I told the story earlier in the week, Neil, like he was just talking about the game of life all the time and trying to pass it forward when it came to football, when it came to life. Here's a guy that was just willing to share his knowledge with anybody who was willing to listen.
Well, that's the thing about Danton. If you followed him on Facebook or on Twitter or anywhere, it seemed like on Facebook that kind of became his platform to share nuggets on life. And he was always very upbeat, and he's always tried to, kind of have the truth about things, but also try to spin things positively. On his Twitter, it seemed like he was always trying to give tips to young aspiring scouts and try to tell them, this is something you should be doing, this is something you shouldn't be doing, and just kind of give them little nuggets along the way. And I think that was classic Danton because, he was just really focused on other people other than himself. And I haven't been able to catch up on my back episodes of TSOF this week. We lost him Sunday night. I know y'all have kind of talked about it a little bit this week, but we're going to be leading the Friday wrap with that tomorrow, just because Danton was such a great personality. He was a true football guy, and to some degree, I think emblematic of a lot of people. I do a weekly feature called Catching Up as part of my newsletter, and lots of times I'll say, hey, I want to go try to track down this scout. He's probably got some great stories and some great insights on the industry, and then you find out that they passed away. And these people are all tried and true football guys that have values and stories and all kinds of things to offer. And yet we don't even know their stories because they're so far behind the scenes, And so I think that's kind of what I want to try to impart to people is, what we lose when we lose people like Danton, who's not only an incredible person, but an incredible football guy too. He wasn't a Ram scout for 20 years because that's not how things work right now in the scouting industry. I mean, it's a pretty disposable industry, and you kind of get one crack at it. And if you're past a certain age, then you're kind of phased out, no matter how much experience you had, or how many schools you scouted, or how many hits you had versus misses. But Danton was a guy that was really special. We want to kind of pay him a little bit of tribute because to me, he's kind of just kind of carries that flag for so many people in the industry that are great people, but they're behind the scenes and the fans don't really know them.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by the fact he would come on here and say when he was with the Rams, he would personally write 500 player write-ups per year, per draft cycle, which is, if you're involved in this profession, that takes quite a bit of time and, knowledge to know how to do that. Really remarkable stuff there. In fact, I went back and watched his speech at the Inside the League Scouting Combine seminar back in 2018, 18-minute lecture of just gold, scouting gold.
Yeah.
And, we'll read more up on it on the Friday wrap there with Danton Bartow. It's still hard to believe that he's not here with us, Shelly. Thoughts and prayers out to you and your family as we continue to mourn the loss of Danton Bartow. Highlights now from your Succeed in Football blog post coming out this week. I know you talked about the name, image, and likeness industry. What did you find out from your most recent Zoom call, Neil?
Well, we've got it's coming up tonight. We're going to have about 200 people that have been invited to the call. It kind of depends on who's available. Obviously, everything's so many balls in the air for everyone. But if you're an agent, you've got this long wait ahead. You go in, you take the exam at the beginning of August, and now you got to wait 6 to 8 weeks. Hopefully, no more than that to find out if you got if you're, I guess, one of the ones that passed on this bubble sheet test. And so try to kind of kill some of that time and make that time a little bit more productive. We're bringing in Trevor Swenson from Dynamic Talent. And he's going to talk about NIL procedures. That's kind of what he does, is work on marketing and those kinds of things. So he's going to talk about how people in the industry can kind of become fluent in those topics and kind of learn more about what they can do. And look, worst case scenario, if these people fail the exam, unlike any class previous, they can still go out and kind of work in this industry and kind of build their network and start to kind of cultivate people, because they can sign kids to NIL partnerships and then try to bring them deals. And, one thing I know that you understand, Rick, a lot of newer agents don't understand, these players really expect marketing. That's become a big, big push for everything, related to representation and what have you. You go out and you do a contract for a player. Right now, under this CBA, under the previous CBA, really the contract's pretty rote for that first deal. So after you do that, you're usually your client's going to expect you to do something else, and one of those things is go out and try to find a marketing deal. So I guess in a sense, if you can become good at NIL, you can kind of start practicing on being an agent before you are actually an agent. So, and there's no license required. There's no kind of registration, nothing like that. It's wide open. And how often do you get to be part of a wide open industry where you can go in and really make a big splash, kind of make your mark before anyone kind of starts coming in and pushing in rules and regulations that are going to just make your job a lot harder. So we want to try to help people get ahead of the curve. That's what we'll be doing tonight. We'll chop it up for about an hour. We'll take questions. We'll get moving. But I just, again, we want to give people one more place to kind of gather and learn so that they can get better as agents before they are even certified as agents.
Yeah, I mean, I call it the Wild Wild West, right? I mean, here's your opportunity. If you want to get in on the ground floor, look forward to finding out what you learn about that. I know that we also learned that there's, sticking with the agent side of things, there's been some movement amongst some agencies. What did you have here coming up in the rep rumblings?
Well, speaking of NIL, David Canner, who's in the top 10 in total active clients right now, signed. He's with DEC Management. He's been in the game for, more than 20 years. Just sold his agency to GSE Worldwide. It's kind of the first major partnership, if you will, between a major marketing agency and an NFL, actual NFL contract agency. And I anticipate that's going to start happening a lot more often now as we start to see the line between NFL agents and marketing agents kind of become blurred. So I thought that was kind of a big deal. Also, we saw Don Wetherill, who was with BC Sports, one of the biggest firms out there under Bus Cook, a legend, as an agent, still out there taking his swings, and as he moves through his career. Don Wetherill moved over to the Ballinger Group, which is based in Dallas. It's kind of the anti-Bus Cook, not from the sense that they're opposed to him. There was a time when they were trying to partner with BC Sports, but just kind of a newer vein. They're signing lots and lots of NIL deals. I think they had their first rounder last year, maybe the year before. I'm not sure. They brought in Rick Roberts, who is a veteran of the industry as well, and they've got a lot of momentum right now. Adding Don just adds to that momentum. So we're seeing a lot, just a lot of turbulence, It's the agent industry never stops moving, never stops changing. And of course, with NIL coming in, that just is one big factor that's going to continue to create that change and make it even more dynamic. So those are some of the things we saw in Rep Rumblings this week.
Wow. Very big move there with David Cantor, DC Sports, just hearing that. Wow. Also, I know that the Hula Bowl is moving to Orlando. I did touch base briefly on the show with that, but we don't have too much information and details now. Are they going up against the Senior Bowl again this year, or what's the situation?
No, they moved the date. This year they'll go up against the Tropical Bowl, which the plot thickens. That means we're going to have 2 games in Orlando on the same day. And, the Tropical Bowl kind of has about a 72-hour cycle. They get there one night, they have weigh-ins, they practice, they have practice the next day, and then they play the third day. It's a very quick thing that, Michael Corte's got going down there. And Michael's always done a great job with it. He's got a passion for the players. Now we're going to have 2 games. One's going to be played at Camping World Stadium. One's going to be played at UCF Stadium. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of how those 2 play off against each other, especially given the fact that it's kind of going to be in the midst of the CGS will be before the game. The Shrine Bowl and the NFLPA Bowl will be after, and then you got the Senior Bowl, again after that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not looking at the dates right now, but that's about how it breaks down. But we've got a lot of games this cycle this year. I believe we've got the new HBCU Bowl that's going to be coming online. We're going to have a game here in Houston that'll be here. So if you're a college player, it's a great time to be looking for an all-star game because there's going to be all kind of opportunities. The question is, how will NFL scouts decide to spend their time? What will be the economy of presence that they have? Will teams send people everywhere? I think historically you're going to see teams send at least one person to all these games. But the question is, are they decision makers? Are they guys that have a few skins on the wall? Are they the kind of scouts that teams typically trust that can really come back and say, hey, look, this guy showed out. He's someone we should have on our radar screen. So there'll be, there's going to be a lot of competition. That competition benefits the players. So that's a good thing. But I also want to try to see as many of these games succeed as possible. I mean, more opportunities is at the end of the day is better for the game, if you ask me. So excited about that. Excited the Hula Bowl continues. As you know, Rick, there's a time when I actually ran the Hula Bowl back in 2008. That's a long time ago. I had a lot less. This was a lot darker back then. But I'm excited to see them continue to move along. There's going to be another big announcement probably coming next week with who's going to run the game, a veteran of the draft community everyone knows. That's not official yet, so I'm holding off on that announcement, but it's coming up. So a lot of things going on in the game, in the business of the game, even though we don't actually have NFL games kicking off until a little later, and even though we don't have actual college football until this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the Shreveport game, the Cajun Bowl with Brian Beasley, there's so many games. It's amazing, Neil. I think there's more All-Star games than I can ever remember in a single game in a single year, which is remarkable because there's been a lot that have come and gone. So, all right, moving right along here. I know that you are attempting one of the most arduous tasks there is, which is polling NFL scouts and executives and trying to find out who's the best scout, who's really moving and shaking in the industry here, because like you said, these guys are so far behind the scenes. You don't hear anything about it in the media world. What are you attempting, or what have you been able to pry away from this secret society?
I mean, Rick, I think this is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever tried to do, but I'm going to try it anyway. We don't have a metric for evaluating scouts. We don't have the only metric probably, I guess, is other scouts who've sat in the room, who've heard other scouts' opinions, who've kind of been with them when they were running a pro day or anything at all. And so we're going to try to kind of do it kind of baseball style. We're going to put together a ballot with essentially everyone who's got more than 5 years in the business at the scouting level, and then ask scouts to vote on them. And hopefully, we'll come back with good opinions. We're going to try to get the top 10 guys, based on votes. And normally when we do our salary survey, which takes place in January, that's a time, it's very busy, obviously, but it's not the meat of the season. It's when scouts they're kind of at all-star games. There's a little bit more time to kind of talk and socialize, and it's not quite as intense. But we never have tried a September vote before when these guys are on the road. They're trying to write their reports. They're trying to do all these things. They're fully engaged. So we're hopeful that we'll get a good representation of scouting. There's about We're looking at about 25 scouts per team times 32. What is that? Around 300, 400 scouts that are out there. Hopefully we can get around half of them to vote on this. I'm hopeful that people will get passionate about it, and we'll really try to put out there, the people that they believe are good. I want to give those people recognition because, as we led this show talking about Danton, you just don't get much talk about this. A lot of people don't get the recognition they probably deserve. A lot of people go on to retirement, and the rank and file the rank and file fan never even knows that person's name. So we're hopeful that we can, find those men that have the best eye, that do the best job, they're the most thorough, they're the most passionate about the industry, and try to give them some recognition. So that's coming up in September. We'll have those results sometime in October.
No, I appreciate you trying to do this, Neil, because I am really intrigued by it, to be honest. And I don't know how much of a response you're going to get because these guys are hard to pry information from. But I think if anybody can do it, you can, because you are so well respected within the scouting community, the agent community, and the football industry. One last one here before we let you go. I know you got the new blog coming. My favorite draft coming in September, which is, just a week away. What do you got cooking for us, Neil?
Yeah, new podcast. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk to people across the game, some at the administrator level, some a little bit lower on the totem pole, some just at the area scout level. But we feel good about it. We've got some new faces that'll be helping us out. If you listen to the Best Player Available podcast, there are a lot of people that I think were really entertaining, really had some great insights, were really a lot of fun to listen to. We're bringing some of them back. Then we'll have some new faces. We'll have some new people talking about it. The idea is we're going to talk about just one draft. We're going to let that scout choose the draft. I'll ask the questions. That scout will have the stories about the war room, but also about on the road and how they came to choose the players that they did and the players they also considered, the players that they wanted really badly, but they were chosen ahead of them, or maybe that someone traded up to get that they weren't able to attain. So we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully the same format, just kind of very conversational between me and whoever the guest is. And it's going to be a lot of fun. You'll find it right here on this platform, part of Ric's growing platform of guys like me that are trying to help provide some content and make this a good hub for everyone who's interested in the game.
No, we look forward to it, Neil. And I think what I appreciate and what really everybody appreciates about your interview skills is that it's great to have good guests, but if you don't know how to ask the right questions, what good is it? So I think that's what we really appreciate is that, you're really getting into the nuts and bolts and peeling back the layers of the onion, as we like to say. And I know so many people, as you can see in the chat room, tune in just to hear you each and every Thursday here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Craig T. Smith, Big Law, Tom Goodhines. I saw Dan Cassidy pop in and say hello. So we appreciate you dropping the nuggets and insight each and every week here on the State of Football. And of course, if you're not a member, what are you doing? Go to InsideTheLeague.com, get signed up, get yourself educated, get yourself regulated. What else, before we let you go here, Neil, do you want to impart upon our listening audience?
I think we covered it, man. Ric, I appreciate you having me on as always. Looking forward to another big week. And my gosh, the season's just around the corner. An exciting time to be following football, an exciting time to be part of the industry. Looking forward to another great week. Looking forward to an exciting weekend of football.
Yeah, another great season upon us here with week 0 of the college football season. I know Neil Stratton will be tuning in, and we will have him back here, back at it again next Thursday like he does each and every Thursday on the State of Football. Neil, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother. Have a great weekend.
You too, Neil. Whew. Another hour of power. Wow. Dane Vandernat, Neil Stratton, Ric Serritella here checking in from the Jersey Shore. We had a 100-degree day out here. It's getting hot in this football season. So, I don't know. I hate wrapping up the show. It's my least favorite part of the day. You guys have any questions? I'll keep talking. Big Law won't be here for a Football Friday. We're trying to get the situation figured out, sorted out. I don't know. You might have me. You might have Alec and Lorenz. I just don't know yet. We got some things cooking tomorrow. Soon here on the State of Football, we'll be kind of doing some overtime segments, bonus overtime, because we usually go past the hour of power. We're 5 minutes overtime now, but we'll be doing an additional 5 minutes segments with Conference 1. I am the new commissioner there. It is a task that I am honored and privileged to take on and look forward to bringing the esports community to the mainstream. It is the largest competitive scholastic esports league in the world, and we're bringing it to you. CF1.GG. Lots of news coming in that arena. Tommy Goodhines in the chat. Can we put out a hub football date yet? Because it looks like invites went out. Am I reading that correctly? On the back end, I thought I saw, some guys bumped up there to the top. Did invites go out? Do we have a date? I just want to say, if in case I'm not here tomorrow, I'd love to put it out there to the masses. Big Law, Sammy will hit you up after the show. Craig T. Smith, always appreciate you tuning in. We gotta pop on Craig T. soon, Samantha, because he's got his finger on the pulse with the CFL more than anybody we know. So maybe we can do it on a CFL Wednesday. Go to hubfootball.com. I've been scouring through all the film submissions. This has by far been the most heavily applied for Hub Football registration. You see I'm rocking the gear. Thank you, Don and Tom and Jamie and all the great people at Hub Football. Listen, do yourself a favor. One, stop lying on the application because we have the information. If you lie about your height and weight, we're going to find out. I reward negative points for that. I don't like people who I can't trust, that I'm trying to win a championship with. You're going to come play for me. Got to be honest. Tell the truth. Let the film speak. Let the film tell the tale. All right? So stop lying about your height and weight because I do know what it really is. 2, let's provide the film. I know some of you guys are doing your best in that area. We've seen a great improvement, but I just want to continue to echo that. I got to go. Rutgers, shout out in the chat room. I got to recognize that and honor that. Very close with the Hub Football date and location. So if we don't have it by tomorrow, hopefully when I come back on Monday, coming back around again, I'll have an update there for you. But I'm looking forward to all the applications and some of the players really, really highly talented. Some veteran guys, some guys who've come out this year, some guys who performed really well, went to NFL camp, recently got cut. They're coming back around again to the Hub because they know this is the best way to get recognized in front of NFL scouts. And so hubfootball.com, we continue to keep it moving and grooving there. Ooh, I can't wait till you can travel too, Craig T. Smith. Would love to get you out to the Hub. Would love to get you out to the Hub, not just for the football experience, but for the personal experience, for my personal experience. I'm being greedy now. It's been too long. So, hey, I guess we got to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. Our super producer, Samantha, behind the scenes is music to her ears. She's so happy because I make her kill the AC for the show because I got the vent coming down on me. So 100 degrees. Yeah, it's hot in here. We're going to let her put the AC back on. We're going to wrap up. We're going to put a ribbon on it. She's giving me the cane, yanking me out of here. Big shout out to all our chat room people. This was The State of Football, Season 2, Episode 19, Part 278 edition. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Thank you for tuning in.